Hi there, and welcome to another one of my classic reviews where I review one of my all-time favourite movies. And in this video I'm talking about Lady Vengeance, or also known as Sympathy for Lady Vengeance in some countries, which is a Korean film from 2005 and directed by the master director Chan-wook. Chan-wook is a fantastic director, and Lady Vengeance, like all his films, is immaculately framed and perfectly shot and just looks wonderful. It also has an absolutely fantastic score, one of my favourite scores of the 2000s, and a soundtrack that I come back to time and time again. But Lady Vengeance is the third film in Park Chan-wook's Vengeance trilogy, following Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Old Boy. And Lady Vengeance, to me, is perhaps the best of the three. It's the one that I think really digs into what it means to commit revenge in a way that I think the others, to varying extents, don't do as much. Lady Vengeance is about more than just revenge. It's about society's whole view on revenge. It's about what revenge really is on a truly personal level, but also on a wider, broader societal level. So, Lady Vengeance is about a woman who is wronged, and she spends 13 years plotting and executing her revenge against the man who wronged her. And it is a film which is really interesting as a character study. The lead character here doesn't want revenge for the sake of revenge. She wants it for redemption and for forgiveness. She feels like she herself has wronged him. She wants to redeem herself, and she sees revenge as her only way of doing this. She's a very strong character, and she's very manipulative, and she's able to get what she wants, and she plans this revenge so perfectly and so beautifully. And she wants it to not just be revenge, she wants it to be this beautiful revenge. She wants it to be an extraordinary looking revenge, and it's a film about finding that beauty. I mean, even when things don't go to plan in Lady Vengeance, we still have gunshots through the skull which are beautiful to look at. Park Chan-wook definitely makes beautiful looking films, even when his films are incredibly violent and gory and bleak. And Lady Vengeance is definitely a gory and bleak film. Even if I would say the other two films in the Vengeance trilogy are way more intense and actually more gory and more bleak. This is still a film to not watch if you're a little squeamish. What's also really good about the lead character in Lady Vengeance is that she isn't just this incredibly strong person. She has a motivation for her revenge, but it does make her fragile at times, and it makes her a little hesitant, and it makes her a little cautious. And there is points where she's scared, but she always manages to fight back, and she always manages to execute her plan and keep on going. She fantasises about her revenge in this beautiful manner. There's this whole man as a dog being tortured, which is a dreamlike sequence which kind of you imagine is a fantasy that she can have for as long as she's asleep. She's perfectly content to live out this world where she's getting her revenge. When the revenge finally starts, she appears quite mad at first. Her hate overcomes her, and at the same time, throughout the rest of the film, even once she's overcome that brief moment of hate, she's very expressionless, and she uses this makeup with this blood red eyeshadow, and she's very quiet, and she very much maintains a level of stillness throughout it all, which permeates every scene. But this isn't a cold film. It does actually have a warm layer around it. It has some dark humour. It has this odd moment of joy here and there. It has a style that's beautiful, but it has music that is not just melancholic, even though it is. The music is also this kind of celebratory weirdness to it. It has an undertone of being celebratory, which is emphasised by the fact that the celebrations recur throughout the film. We have, for example, birthdays conflated with the successful revenge. We have the release of prison conflated with Christmas. We have these things recur. In fact, the Christmas thing kind of plays into the fact the film has lots of Christian themes. It has this whole idea that perhaps the lead character is an angel. She does literally shine at one point in the film. We also have the use of candles. We have where the film draws upon the idea of sin and repenting. It also has wonderful uses of white. The opening titles are filled with this creamy white, dusty white imagery. And then throughout the film, white is a recurring theme. We get snow, we get tofu, we get white light shining through a window in the early morning. This is a film which emphasises white, which is actually used quite a lot to emphasise purity within the film. The other thing that the film also has is the lead character has a daughter. And because the lead character is in jail, the man who wronged her hasn't just wronged her. Her daughter has also been wronged, because this daughter has not had the mother that she's meant to have. And more crucially perhaps, the mother has not been able to see and comfort her own daughter. And so there's two victims here, at the very least, before we even get into what the film actually is about. And that is kind of the point. The only moment of hesitation the lead character has regarding her vengeance is when she's talking to her daughter, and she realises that maybe this isn't what she needs to do. Maybe this is too difficult. Maybe it is wrong. And maybe this revenge will not be worth it. In fact, it will only be worth it if it rights both her and her daughter. But more than this, I think Lady Vengeance touches on the whole nature of revenge as a whole. Once someone commits to revenge, they change who they are. You become a different person because you become the person who wants revenge. You don't become who you were originally. And Lady Vengeance shows us that the main character has multiple personalities. She has the personality she is in jail and the personality she is when she leaves jail. And both of those are facades. They aren't who she genuinely is. The only time that she genuinely is who she is in the film is when she emerges out of her shell, when she's forming a new family that slowly grows over the film. But throughout Lady Vengeance, she's different. She's a different person to who she genuinely is. And to reveal that she's different is a cold revelation to a lot of the people that she's close to. And beyond that as well, we then get the acknowledgement in a way that revenge might seem good, but towards the end of carrying out revenge, you're going to realise that it's going to end soon, and your joy will stop once revenge is actually carried out. You want the revenge, but once it happens, once you get your vengeance, it's done. There is no more joy to be had. You've succeeded. And it's a limit. There's a limit to the joy you can get and to the release you can get through enacting vengeance. The reality is that everybody wants revenge, or everyone feels wronged by other people. I mean, even the daughter in this film feels wronged by the absence of her mother, even though she can't explain why. We don't know why we want revenge, and most people can never actually carry it out. But what Lady Vengeance kind of shows us is that perhaps we don't need to or want to carry it out. Maybe wanting to carry it out does degrade our soul. There's a scene in Lady Vengeance that has stuck with me for years, involving a man who forces his partner to have sex with him in a very tough scene to watch. It's very visceral and intense. But when you really think about that scene, the question of who actually has the power in that scene is perversely interesting, because is it the man who thinks he has the power, or is it the woman who knows that the revenge will soon be happening? Is it her who knows that these wrongs are going to be righted? And that kind of thing is what the film pushes. It pushes that level of moral questioning about where power comes from in the situation of revenge. Because knowing you have revenge, knowing you have power can only last for so long, because once you've done your revenge, you're done. The film is also concerned with the wider contextual societal side of revenge. So first of all, we have the whole fact that the film features a subplot regarding people being obsessed with a murderer, obsessed with someone who commits a crime, which is kind of how society itself is very pro-revenge and very intrigued by those who commit evil acts, and kind of why we watch films like this anyway, because we ourselves are naturally inclined to find revenge interesting. But more than that, the film then later on becomes this whole question of a group of people committing revenge, and it becomes that thing of collectivism versus individualism. People don't want to individually give up their morals to enact a cruel revenge, but as a collective we feel comfort in doing so. We feel comfort in, as a group, committing revenge. We're herd animals. It's why we imprison people rather than actually going and causing damage to the person who commits a crime, because we feel nicer to knowing that everyone is on board with that someone being imprisoned. Revenge is something that we all collectively sign up to, but we very rarely actually want to commit ourselves. The film pushes more questions further because it features the characters having to actually individually take part in revenge, even if they would only do this revenge because of a collective they've signed up to it. And then we get to the ending, and this is where the film really steps away from being what the other films in the Vengeance trilogy are. The other films are depressing and bleak with no happiness. Lady Vengeance is the only film with a little bit of hope. Now, the hope in this film does not come through the main character. It doesn't come from the main character having hope that her life will change, that she's better, that she has reached the peak of happiness. In fact, she hasn't. In fact, the film ends with a very depressing set of scenes. But what it does have is hope for the daughter, hope that things can change, that revenge does not have to pass down, that people can enact a better way of living, and that maybe the next generation will be the generation that can avoid this. You're dealt a hand in life, and sometimes that hand is terrible, and you have to regain control of it. And Lady Vengeance features the main character who is dealt a crap hand and vows revenge and gets it. Whereas you don't have to do that. The daughter in this film does not have to be dealt a bad hand, and she can stay pure and stay white, as implied by the recurring thematic aspect of white being the sign of innocence within the film. And that can still happen. The daughter has the time to become better. And so finally the film ends on a tinge of hope, something that neither Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance or Old Boy do. Lady Vengeance has the small amount of hope that just about negates its very depressing story up until that point. It's that thing of we can go through a very tough time and come out better people. Perhaps. Or at least we can come out knowing how to make other people better people. And I think that's what makes it such an interesting film. This is a really deep examination of what revenge means in a way that I think very few films ever really dig into, and I think it's beautifully made, it's fantastically told, and it's very, very engaging. It's one of the best films of the 2000s, and a really powerful film. I absolutely love it to bits, and I always have, and I think it's fantastic, and I really always enjoy it. I think it's one of those really extreme Asian films that just appeals to me and just works for me, and I think it works for a lot of other people. It's a bit under the radar because everyone knows Oldboy, and people know the other films in the trilogy less so, but I still think you should seek this out, regardless of whether or not you've seen the rest of the trilogy or not. It doesn't connect to the other films in any way, so that's what I think. I think it's fantastic. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you've seen it, because I really want to know whether or not you think it's one of the best films in the trilogy, or whether it's one of Park Chan-wook's weakest films, or whatever, because there's a lot of opinions on this, and I have always maintained it's one of his best. So that's what I think, at least. So if you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to read more of my views, you can follow me on Letterboxd or Twitter. If you want to hear more of my views, you can subscribe. And thank you for watching.